Hey everybody, welcome to Secure the Seat Live. I am so excited to have you here today. Happy Black History Month. We're still celebrating. I celebrate Black History Month every day of the year, but today, more nationally, I guess we have this moment. If you are joining us for the very first time, welcome to Secure the Seat. If you've been rocking with me on Mondays at noon for a long time, I'm so happy that you're here. And so tell me who some of your Black history heroes are. I actually have a shirt on right now. It says Catalyst for Change in honor of Shirley Chisholm's campaign that she ran. She's someone who always just inspires me. And if I could have lunch with her, if that was a possibility, that would be the person that I would wear 5 masks with to eat and have a conversation with. But today we're actually going to be talking about public speaking, and I'm so excited because my public speaking coach, Rhonda Khan, the founder and CEO of Simply Speech Solutions, is here, and I'm going to bring Rhonda to the stage so that we can talk about where the money resides. So all the questions that you might have in regards to public speaking, you're going to want to put your questions in the chat because, and you're also going to want to connect with her. So Rhonda, welcome to Secure the Seat. How are you?
Hi. Thank you for having me, Linda.
Always. We always have a good time. And I also want to say that today's episode is in partnership with LinkedIn News and their campaign for change, Conversations for Change campaign. And if you are interested in finding out more about what Conversations for Change is, make sure you follow the hashtag on LinkedIn because they're actually highlighting Black professionals and their paths to success. So make sure that you check that out. And now that my, coach is here, I'm getting all tongue-tied. So Rhonda, for those who don't know who you are and what you do, tell everybody a little bit more about yourself.
Well, my name is Rhonda Khan, and I specialize in amplifying the voices of women of color. So that could look like public speaking coaching. That could look like arming you to show up on stages and spaces to own your voice and speak with power.
Yes, I love it. And, so many people, Rhonda, they come to me and they ask me, how do you get on the public speaking circuit? How do you get paid? Because a lot of people are speaking, but they're not actually getting their worth. And I have so many questions around that because I spend probably about 80% of my time public speaking. And so I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. But I want to first ask you, Rhonda, because this is a common question that I always get is, what are a few things that someone who wants to start building their public speaking platform, what can they start doing this week?
Well, first of all, it's mission first, then money. And I have to say that part because a lot of people are like, I'm ready to be on the stage and I'm ready to get these rates. And I've seen all these tweets. There were some recent tweets of like, this is how much you can actually get paid. But you really have to get clear on what is the work that you do? What is that unique thing that only you can offer, the value that you provide, and how you can show up and serve your ideal audience or your audience. And so really leaning into your why, and that will be the foundation. And then after you do that, you need to get completely visible to your audience. Before you even book or sign anybody's contract, does your audience know you're there? Do they know that you provide what you provide, the knowledge, the wisdom, the expertise, whatever it is that you have? And start showing up. That could be in social media, what you post, what you share. That could be showing up on videos, on live, or posting clips or in your stories. That could be showing up in different people's communities, depending on what you have. I mean, they just created a whole community just for y'all to talk to each other, which is Clubhouse. and that could even start there, but you want to really start showing up. And then you have to craft your signature message. And a lot of people are like, well, how do I know what my message is? First, do I start with message? Then I first go to the audience, or how do you do? Okay, so you start with serving your audience. And then you just start putting yourself out there. You start to get opportunities that they will likely be free, or there will likely be things that you create yourself. And then as you start to serve and connect with that audience, you will learn, actually, this is the message that they need, that only I can uniquely provide. And you craft that. And so once you start really getting clear on who you are, who you serve, how you're going to serve them, start to get visible, start to pay attention to what opportunities are out there. And I always say that if you start off being visible and are clear and deep in your foundation in your work, the opportunities might just start showing up and you don't even know where they're coming from. Like, oh, how did they know? Well, they saw my post, or they knew my relationship with this person or that person, and they know that I do this work. And so that's one way, and that's you putting yourself out there. And you can also search for your own opportunities. You look for hashtag call for speakers, and you can find opportunities everywhere. So that's what I would say for the absolute make. That's what I would say for starting. I'm just looking at this person that said mission before your money. Happy Black History, everyone. Come on, whoever said that. I love it.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you shared that, Rhonda, because what people may not know about even my journey, it wasn't that I said, you know what, I'm going to be a paid public speaker. Listen, being a public speaker was like the last thing on my list. I don't even know that it was on my list. It was being able to serve. And then as you're serving, you start to create certain opportunities for yourself. And then people want your thought leadership on it. But it wasn't something that I had set out to do because I didn't see myself in that way. You know, I really wanted to serve women of color in the workplace, but through the journey, then I had opportunities, but it wasn't about, oh, got to get that dollar. You know, it's nice to have yes and, right? You know?
But yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's the exact example of what I'm saying. Like, you knew you had a mission. Like, I want to serve women of color in the workplace. I want to create a seat, you know, us to have seats at the table. So let me just start doing the work, because it always starts with doing the work. And then the opportunities came and you step forward. And now you do it 80% of your days.
Yes, yes. And again, if you have any questions about public speaking, how to the how-tos, you have the expert here right now. And so we're going to drop Rhonda's information in the chat so that you can stay connected with her, but we'll talk more about that. But if you have your questions, we'll take some. The next question that I wanted to ask you, Rhonda, is can we talk about how you advise women of color and Black women on how to set their speaker fees? Because if you're on Twitter, everybody's talking about the fees, right? So talk to us about those fees.
So listen, there is money in the speaking game. So I know a lot of people, it surprises a lot of people who don't know this, but for women of color, we will do the work. There's no doubt that we will show up and do the work and give. And I do know that very often a lot of us are not getting what our value, or even less, you know, we're not getting that. And what I would say is that it's going to take some time to get the big fees. So whatever you may have seen on Twitter, I think you did a post that was very transparent a few months back on like what you get paid. I think I really love this post. I think it was Tara J. Frank back in December. She did a really wonderful post and breakdown. Go check that out about like the different levels, because that's how I talk to my clients. Like, there are levels to this game. And again, if we're mission first and money, you know that the money will come. But when you're first starting, you're trying to discover your voice. You're trying to connect with your audience. You're just trying to build momentum. So you may not necessarily get a significant fee just yet. Doesn't mean you shouldn't ask, but it doesn't mean that. But your goal is to really refine your messaging and really get close. So like, I will tell y'all a story. The very first paid speaking engagement I got, which was almost about 4 years ago when I first started my business, and I was so excited. It was a client that I was working with who's, I think, a CTO or something of a startup. And he saw I was just like drafting out what a training would be for my services. And he saw this and he was like, oh, will you come train my team? I'm like, sure. And I did a 1-hour workshop for them. They loved it. Y'all, guess how much I charged for this workshop? Come on, guess. Come on, guess. What they saying, Minda? What they
charge? $500?
I charged $115 because I didn't, and I was just like, I can get paid for this. And so there was so much greenness in that, but I did get 3 clients out of the experience. And it was my first, it was very early. And so what I have to tell you, do not charge that. By the way, do not charge that. I did not know. And we all have some of those experiences. We're like, oh, I should have charged way more. Do not do that. But know that if you're just starting out and you don't have experience yet, you don't have video of you speaking, you don't have those connections, all those other things, you can start creating opportunities for yourself just to practice and learn. And then once you feel like you've gotten a little bit of grounding and you're like, I know this target audience and this signature message, then you start raising your rate. So with my program, which we'll talk about, the Catalyst Academy, I say that there are levels, there are different levels of where when you start. There's, and I have fancy names because I was all up in the thesaurus. But the initial level, you are building momentum and getting out there. So it may be low bono or honorarium, as we like to say. And for me, honorarium is anything under $1,000 is honorarium. And that's based on what you decide. By the way, a couple years ago, I was still doing things for way less than that. And then as you get the experience, this next level, you charge more. And so you really think about the different places that you can get speaking engagements, right? You have companies where you can do keynotes, or you can do trainings. You have conferences, which will have you as the keynote, the breakout, the panels, all of those other things. You have universities, higher education. You have community organizations. You have places of worship. There's probably more. Am I missing some, Minda? Because I know you just spoke at all of them.
You hit the high ones, girl. You hit the high ones.
So you have all those different places, and they're all going to have different budgets, but you identify when you do your work where your target audience is probably at, and just know, and then you determine what that rate is based on the work that you're doing. So as you build up momentum and you feel more confident, being 100% honest, companies are probably going to have bigger budgets depending on the companies, but not always. Some nonprofits do have a certain budget, but you want to make sure that you are charging for, think about your time, think about the value, and not just one or the other, but both. And when you first start out and you first get a contract that's over like $500 to $1,000, document everything you're doing in that, like everything. You building your talk, you doing your slides, document the time, pay attention to the energy that you're spending doing it, and think about, like, is this how much that I would charge next time? Is this how much I would charge? Especially for those of us in like the corporate training space, which is a lot of where the money reside. But, but when you're in that space, really pay attention, because I know for me, when I'm doing some of those things, I'm writing them down and I'm just like, this was really great. I love this training. I'm gonna charge way more next time. This was a lot more work than I thought. And so that's how you grow. When you get a more credibility and established platform, then you can start to go up in the 4 figures and sometimes in the 5 figures. And so for you, Minda, and you've shared this, like for somebody like you who has a very well-established platform, you have a best-selling book and more books coming, you have all these great things. Like, so you have done the work to get to that level, but you keep building and you keep asking and you keep growing. And so that's how I think the speaker fees should go, with like the amount of experience and the amount of you continue to adjust based on the work that you're putting in.
Absolutely. Such great information. I hope that each of you are taking notes. You're going to share it. You're going to think about what you are currently doing and what you need to enhance on. And listen, I started out where I was, just like Rhonda said, I was speaking at churches. I was speaking at my one of my godson's first grade classes. I was building all kinds of tools to try to, in different audiences. And eventually, I did it for exposure, more so practice for myself so that I'd be comfortable when I finally got to different stages. But make sure that you also know your worth, but also think about what you offer, right? It's not enough just to say, I want to be a public speaker, but what is that lane that you're going to drive in, or a couple of lanes? You can't speak on everything. I even tweeted about this a couple weeks ago, like, just because you can talk doesn't mean you need to be talking about everything. So, fine. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, you see me shifting. I was just like, I do. And I remember when you posted that, and I'm so glad, because this is exactly the process that I take my clients through in my whole little growth scale. And so when you first start, you're probably going to do some of everything because you're trying to figure it out. And that's totally okay. Like, it's spaghetti against the wall. See if it sticks. See what you feel good with, what people resonate with. See what resonates with you. When I first started, it was co-working spaces in Brooklyn. I would just be doing my own The Voice workshop for free. And that became some of the foundational work to what I do today. And so that is totally a part of it. And you need that cultivation time. But once you start rocking and rolling, and once you start getting those connections and getting those opportunities to show up more and get paid, then you're gonna be in a different stage that I talk about, which is my energizer stage. And you're gonna be hot, and it's gonna be really exciting. It's like, this is what I was looking for. Great opportunities. But you're going to be stretched really thin because you're so used to saying yes, yes, yes. And at that stage, what I say is that you need to alignment. You should be aligning all the way, but you really need to, and this is the hard part, especially when we finally start getting stuff, is saying no to things that are not aligned, that you don't have capacity for, so you can get super specific, because the audience that you tried to figure out in the beginning, that's going to get even more specific. And pro tip, the more specific you get with the audience, the more impactful you'll be, and the more opportunities will come. Right, Minda?
Like, amen. That I am a living testimony, Rhonda. and you've helped me with that too, in terms of you just can't say yes to everything, and you will be more in tuned and aligned, and your energy will give even more to that talk because it's what you really wanted to say yes to. Let's take a question from the audience. Mike, if you could throw up one of the questions on there. What are some ways to improve speaking skills while you're at home? That's a great question, Rhonda.
That it is, Magnolia. And I think that what's great about the time we're in right now is because we're all on camera, everybody is a public speaker. So, hey, you're already doing it. And because you're already on Zoom. What I would say is that really I always start with audience. Everything starts with audience, because the purpose of us speaking is to impact the other person. It's not necessarily about how we look, even though we do care about that stuff. Let's be honest. It's not about how we look, and not about getting the applause or getting approval. It's about how you're serving your audience, even if that audience is on a screen and you don't have them in the room. And what I say specifically with virtual presentations and speaking is that sometimes it could be more draining, because you're not getting the energy from the folks in the room. They're not here with you to like feedback. And so you're giving. But what I would say is, if you started, I don't know if you're on Zoom, Magnolia, or you're doing Zoom meetings or doing any presentations, but ask yourself this question before you step in to any meeting. That's a speaking engagement too. What do you want your audience to do or feel? If you ask yourself that question, then I think that you will be way more intentional and impactful in that. Like, do you want them to do this? Do you want them to feel this? And guide your content and guide your delivery based on how you want them to, what things you want them to do, the impact you want to have at the end of this exchange, and how you want them to feel. So that's what I would start with.
Such great information. I love that. Let's take another question. Mike, on the screen, I know the chat's going crazy with just, I know people are taking notes. There's so many questions. So I know Mike will throw one up there for us. What should be the ask as a moderator versus a speaker? Great question. Yeah.
So I might throw this back to you, Minda, because I feel like we may have had something about that. It depends on the speaking engagement. Is it a conference? Are you a breakout speaker? Are you a keynote speaker? And there are levels to this. I think a moderator sometimes does as much work as if you're doing a talk, depending on the situation. So I feel like it should be not that much different. But that's one thing to think about, like how much homework are you doing in this moderation? How much, like, are you preparing the questions? Are you just reading questions and being and standing there, which is a lot of work within itself, but are you doing the research? Are you creating the panel? Are you getting the people in there? So I would think it would be relatively close to a speaker. What's been your experience, Minda?
Absolutely. I mean, you hit it on the head, Rhonda. It's a lot of work, even though because you tend to be trying to coddle or galvanize 3 to 4 speakers at a time. That takes a lot of energy. That takes a lot of intentionality, and that takes a lot of skill. And so one of the things that I used to do, I don't do it anymore. You learn and you grow, okay, is I didn't charge for moderator, because the story that I used to tell myself is that it wasn't the same. And I'm like, no, this is the same, sometimes more, depending on if you have meetings, if you have to draft the questions. And so now part of my services is my moderation fee. And that's part, and I put that, it's not lower, it's almost similar to some of my other fees. And because it takes a lot, even if you are not drafting the questions, but you still have to meet for the prep calls, there's still the expectation to perform, and if the conversation could go left or right if you're not in the mode and doing your job. And so make sure that it's the same. They're asking you to do a service and you're the talent. So look at it that way.
Yes, I love that you said the story that you tell yourself. Come on, talk about the stories that we tell ourselves and how we talk ourselves into more work, thinking that. But I completely agree. And that's along the lines of like documenting all the things that you probably are going to be doing in these experiences.
Yes. And the other thing I'll say, Rhonda, to that is also get clear expectations. And if they're providing you the questions, if you're drafting the questions, if they're providing you with questions, then say, hey, I need them 2 days at least, or 24 hours at least. Those are the sorts of things that you can also be prepared for, because I've been a moderator where I've just got the questions like an hour before or right then and there. And I'm like, you know what? I got to set clear boundaries and expectations for the role that just as I would as a speaker.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. I all of that, because people will take what they can take. And it's totally okay to say, I need more time to prepare. It's totally okay to say, I need to pause. I need a break. It's totally okay to not use their slide template if you don't like it. By the way, like if it doesn't work, like you ask for what you need 100%.
Absolutely. I love it. Let me jump back and keep asking your questions. We'll try to get to a couple more, but I wanted to talk about something that I'm really excited about. You have a public speaking academy. Can you tell us a little bit more about it and what future students can expect? And while you're doing that, we're going to drop the information in the chat so that people can invest in themselves.
Yes. So the Catalyst Academy is my year-long incubator for women of color who want to grow their thought leadership through public speaking. So what I have learned through one-on-one coaching for all my speaking engagements is that there is a process, there are levels, and what I want to do is get these women who have mission-driven work, like you, like socially driven work, and guide them through becoming a thought leader and using their public speaking. So it's mission first and money, but we do talk about where the money resides. It has a 3-component situation. So you have a course that is self-directed called the Catalyst course, and it's a 3-part to that: identify, clarify, amplify. And then we have weekly group coaching calls that are all thematically done, and including mindset and actual group coaching where you get me in the room, and Minda knows what I'm like when I coach. I get all of it. we go in the work because I believe in you. And then there's also a community where we support each other and help each other grow and thrive. And so we just started, but it's rolling admissions. You can join at any time. And I wanted to create this because I've seen the tweets and I've seen the work, and I know who I like to work with. Like I've specified my audience that really needs, thank you, that really needs that honing. And I just want to pour into Black women of color to get us to be out there telling our stories, getting on our platforms, being on the mission, and also getting paid to share our expertise value, our expertise and our work. So that is the Catalyst Academy. And I think they dropped the links if anybody is interested.
Yes, absolutely. The link is in the chat. And I just want to tell you, if you want to get on that platform, if you want to build, you want to create change, it's going to take doing something a little different. And even though before I started working with Rhonda, I was doing public speaking, but I knew that where I wanted to go, I couldn't do it alone. And you've often heard me say success is not a solo sport. And I knew there were certain things that I'm like, I'm still not comfortable in these certain ways. And I know that I can continue to build and enhance and be an even more impactful public speaker and storyteller. Ultimately, that's what we want to be. And I don't even remember how I found you, Rhonda, but we immediately connected, and it was just such a wonderful experience. I just had a session with Rhonda last week, so it's one of those things that I'm not telling you to do something that I'm not doing myself. And so if you're serious about this, then you will see what's possible for yourself. So if you have any extra questions, drop them in the link. But Rhonda, you know, I am a lover of grits and rap lyrics. You already know. And so I can't let you leave Secure the Seat without, well, first telling everybody how you like your grits. And then number two, what's your favorite rap lyric and why?
Okay. I love it. So grits, I eat them with salt and butter. So I don't know what this sugar nonsense is. And matter of fact, I'm like, let me go get some grits. I like my grits with some eggs, either scramble, however, but like I mix the grits and the eggs, and it's great. So that's how I like it. So this is not a rap lyric. I really thought about this, and you know how I feel about performance, but I had to be true and intentional and authentic to what I was feeling. And the song, as I grow and as I watch the people around me grow, including yourself, I am so connected to Beyonce's song "Bigger" because it just, there's one song that just I just like lock into this bigger light or something when I hear this song. But the very specific lyric that gets me is if you feel insignificant, you better think again. Better wake up, because you're part of something way bigger. You're part of something way bigger than you, bigger than me. Bigger, and then the part where she says, I'll be the roots, you be the tree. Pass on the fruit that was given to me. That piece right there is like, nothing that I am growing to or have grown from has not been from people who have not seen something in me, including yourself. Don't get me emotional today, but including yourself, and has amplified me. And that's the work that I plan to do. And I try to do every day in the world. Is just like, pass on the fruit, pass on the fruit. I'll be the tree. Okay, let me lift you up. Okay, other people lifting me up. Let's lift all each other up. Let's share this wealth. Let's share this knowledge, and let's all elevate together and get bigger together. And so,
yes. Yeah. Well, Beyonce is a rapper. She may not call herself that, but she is a rapper. She spits all the bars. And it is bigger than us. And that's why we have to tap into people who can help us and help our tree grow and help us spread and grow roots. So thank you for that. You can all, Beyonce is always welcome on Secure the Seat.
So, welcome. She's always the answer.
She's the medicine. She's the medicine. And we have all of our leaders watching today. And I'm a firm believer that you don't have to have an official title to be a leader. We all can affect change. But what's one tip or piece of advice you would give our listeners on what they can do to make the workplace better than they found it?
Listen to Black women, listen to women of color, listen, but also be generous in your work. Be generous. Share, lead in the way that you're going to bring other people up, but share yourself completely as much as you can. Like, don't feel like you have to limit parts of yourself, but be intentional about what you share with the intention of bringing up and giving to others all the time. I think you'll never lose if that's your intention.
Agreed. There's nothing more I can say about that. Rhonda, this is so good. I just know that people are loving every minute of it. We're going to drop your links, your website, and the Academy in the chat. And we have time for one last question. Mike, if you can throw one last question up on the screen, but the learning doesn't stop here. You can also connect with Rhonda and find out what she's working on, follow her on social media. Where can people follow you and find you and book you? We're going to drop it in the chat, but maybe there's ways you like to engage with people.
So I'm here on LinkedIn, Rhonda Khan. On other social media, Twitter, Instagram, I'm at It's Simply Speech, ITS Simply Speech. And my website is simplyspeechsolutions.com. And for the Catalyst Academy, you can just go to bit.ly/Catalyst Academy, but you'll find that on the main website as well.
I love it. I love it. There's so many questions here. I'm trying to see.
Yeah, I want to answer some. I'm like ready.
Here we go. Hi, Rhonda. When you spoke for free, did you cap the time of your presentation?
When I first started, yes. Usually, but I didn't know no better. So usually, I'm just gonna tell you that at the time. But, it was my typical presentation was 45 minutes and like 15 minutes for Q&A. So that was the spot. I think I think anything over that should not be free at all. And that may be something different for you. I'm just remembering that there's something that I didn't put into this conversation. And it's some of these major conferences that do not pay speakers, but may be a good foundation for you to start and gain so much more. So it's even if like, for instance, I've done Inbound twice. Inbound is a conference that's typically held in Boston when we're not under COVID. It is a great platform. It's a mega conference where so many different companies and people. And if you are not necessarily in the sales marketing space, which they're known for, there's also a rest of us that will speak there, that they have tracks for you. But Inbound was a huge step for me because it's, we don't do things for credibility, but it does have a level of social proof. I got to speak in a room with a great audience. They gave me 3 stages, so I was full Beyonce. Like, they have different platforms. So hopefully we can come back out and they can do it again because it's a wonderful place. But they don't pay they pay their keynotes, but they don't pay their breakout speakers. But that's something that some of those types of investments will really result in a lot of opportunities for you. So don't sleep on those kinds of things, and don't just assume, like, some conferences may not pay, but like, what are the other opportunities? Like, who will you meet? If you're a service provider, will you get clients from it? Will you get contracts? Like, do you have a book? Like, are you going to be able to leverage a book, or so there's so many different opportunities that would be free that also can give you benefits without paying you dollars.
Yep, that's really great. One question that I wanted to pose that I saw in the chat before we close out, Rhonda, is, I'm paraphrasing, but someone says that they know that they have a lot to say, but they're scared. They get stage fright. Are there any tips for how to overcome that?
First of all, I want to give you a hug because that is my jam. And with consent, I ask for hugs. I'm a hugger, but I ask. But yeah, so what I want you to know so much is that this is something that everybody experiences to some level. Even those who say they don't get nervous, I've seen the tapes, lies. Like, people do, and it's a natural reaction from your body. Like, your body is like, this is scary. It doesn't know the difference between you about to get hit by a car and you being in front of a bunch of people and having to speak. And what you have to do is honor that feeling of like, okay, I'm nervous, and say exactly what it is. Like, my heart is racing. I'm feeling the tummy, or whatever it is that it is, the thoughts. And then what we don't do is we don't get rid of the fear, because it ain't going nowhere, right, Minda? You already know. But we move through it. We move through it. And so when you acknowledge that fear, it disarms it a lot anyway. Another trick I like that I do all the time, I did it before this call, is square breathing. And some people call it square breathing, some people call it box breathing. And I'm not sure if that's how your fear shows up, but I'm just going to take a stab at it. Square breathing is inhaling for 4 seconds, holding, exhaling for 4 seconds, and then holding again. And if you do 2 cycles of those, at minimum, 2 cycles of that breathing, it's going to regulate your body, right? It's going to regulate your body. And then I want you to be compassionate with yourself and talk to yourself. It's not easy to get up and speak in front of people. Like, Minda does it all the time. Minda, do you still get nervous?
Every time.
The Minda Hearts. Okay. So it is absolutely a normal thing, and be compassionate, but just keep going. Just know the fear will be there, and keep going. And you'll learn more and more as you grow, and you pay attention to your triggers, and you honor where you are, it'll be easier, and you'll become much stronger.
Oh, that was beautiful. And I think that that's something we all could take. And I'll be honest, square breathing, that was one technique that you shared with me. And I do it pretty much before every speaking engagement, because I still get the nerves. I still, people may not see it on the front end all the time, but internally I'm like, it's like inside of me, like, and that really does help center me. And it's just those tools that some of us don't have, and you just need that extra support. Rhonda, this has been fabulous. I know people pay you tons of money to drop the gems that you were dropping today, but any final thoughts for our group, our squad today?
Hey, squad, you all are so capable of everything you want. You really are. One thing that I know for sure is that really owning your voice and stepping forward can create so much change for you and other people. And so if you feel like you are ready to transform with your voice or even just show up with your voice, just start doing it. Just start doing it. Little steps every day. You got this.
You got this. Let's drop Rhonda's information in the chat one more time. Thank you so much, Rhonda, for joining us on Secure the Seat Live today. If you want, you can stay or you can exit the stage, but I promised that I would show a sneak peek of my book cover to today, to today's group. And so before we leave, this week, my book, Right Within, comes out on pre-order, and I wanted to share just show you the first look before it actually goes live everywhere else. So thank you, Rhonda, for your, man, I know I'm going to rewatch this, and I hope people will share it, and you're getting so much love in the chat. So let me try. I've never shared my screen on Secure the Seat, so it might be a little clunky initially, but we're going to make it happen. But I'm so excited for you all to see this. So that is the cover, Right Within, How to Heal from Racial Workplace Trauma. It goes on sale this week, and I wanted to show you all first because you've been rocking with me. There would be no second book without you. And so I just want to say thank you. And this is just my way of just giving you all a little something before the rest of the world gets it. And I'm really thankful. I did not think there'd be a second book, and there is. And so I just wanted to share that with you all. And there it is, October 5th, it comes out, Right Within. Rhonda.
I love it so much. I'm so full. I'm so full.
Awesome. And the last thing that I'll say, today's episode has been in partnership with LinkedIn News and their Conversations for Change campaign. Look at the hashtag Conversations for Change. They have the whole month of February. They're Black professionals in their path. So make sure that you check them out. As always, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next Monday at noon. Have a great rest of your week.
Bye. Thanks.